So the second Springboks lineup of the Rugby Championship has just been announced, and there are certainly some changes from Test match number 1. A few big returns, a few little reshuffles here for Rassie and his side, but of course the main word is redemption. They want to go out on the field at Cape Town Stadium, make a statement and get themselves back on track for the Rugby Championship title. But jumping straight into it, in the front row, just the one change compared to what we saw in Test match number 1. Oxenshire will start at number 1 yet again. Malcolm Marks at 2, and number 3, Thomas du Toit. So they have switched out Wilco Low. They haven't gone with Clubber Kanye, so instead Wilco Low, he will move to the bench, but a massive opportunity here for Thomas du Toit to get that starting jersey as a tight head prop in the locking duo. This is a little bit of a new look combo for the Boks. It will be Arge Snyman starting as the number 4 and number 5, Ruan Nokia. Now, initially, Rassie did say they had a side pretty much picked for this matchup, but because of what happened in the first contest, there were going to be a few switches heading into the second match, but I believe this was a predetermined locking duo. Arge Snyman not playing in the first match, neither was Ruan Nokia, but it will be a very intriguing combination, as of course we all know how strong these two players can be, so I look forward to seeing them up against the Wallabies. Looking through at the loose forward trio, Mako van Staden keeps that spot in the number 6 jersey. Now, it was announced that Sia Khaleesi as well as Pieter-Steph du Toit both going to be unavailable for this match, so there were always going to be 2 changes in this department, but Franco Mostert, he will slot in as the number 7, did make his way off the bench last week in the first test, and then number 8, it is Jean-Luc Dupré. So only one man keeping his spot in that loose forward trio, that being Mako van Staden. Moving on to the backline, Grant Williams will start yet again in their number 9 jersey, but at the number 10 jersey, this is where we see the return of Handré Pollard. No Manie Libbok at all across this 23-man side. But Handré, the experienced head, he was on the sideline last week. I'm sure he will be rearing to go for this contest. It's been talked about that experience that he brings. And with a couple of the other players selected across this backline, that seems to be exactly what Rassie wanted, to have these more experienced heads out there and try and break down this Australian side, but also defend a lot better than we did see in the first test. Out on the left wing, this is where we do see Cheslin Colby get the opportunity. He wasn't available for the first test due to injury. Same can be said about the number 12, Damien Dialendi. He will return and partner with Jesse Creel, who also gets captaincy for this match, but that is the dream duo in this midfield combination. Andre Esterhuizen, I thought at times did look pretty solid in that number 12 jersey, but I think at the same time he may have just been keeping it warm for when Dialendi did return, and boy is it going to be dangerous with that man. As the number 12, number 14, we do see Kanan Moody, and then number 15, it is Willie Leroux. So, the initial words from Rassie after the last match were he was going to give the likes of a Kanan Moody a start initially, same with Ethan Hooker, and same with Morne van den Berg. Now, 2 out of those 3 will not be starting in this game. There are no signs of Ethan Hooker. There are no signs of van den Berg, so that pretty much tells you that even though Rassie maybe had a slightly different plan heading into this matchup with some slight adjustments, still a very good side making their way onto the field. Off the bench, it will be Manus van der Merwe as the number 16, number 17, Boan Venter. He did get to make his way off the bench last week due to the injury of Jan Hendrik Wessels. Wilco Low as the number 18, number 19, the hugely experienced Springbok of Eben Etzebeth, number 20, Ludiaka. So actually 2 locking options off of the bench here. Now that is intriguing, and I'm curious to know what the plan is going to be later on in this match. Now, of course, last week we did see South Africa go with that 5-3 split. This week they have gone with the 6-2, which brings Quagga Smith into that number 21 jersey rather than 20. But I am very curious whether or not we're going to see 2 straight switches in the locking duo. Maybe Ruan Nokia can transition into the number 7 jersey. I know that he's played a bit there for the Bulls, but I'm sure the big plan will be to play that 80-minute performance. Brilliant first quarter of that first test, but then from there, it just slightly fell apart for the Springboks. So perhaps with these selections, could be a much more all-round performance from the side. 2 backs off the bench, Cobus Reinach as the number 22, and Sasha Feinberg Ngumezulu slotting in at 23, but that is the Springboks starting lineup and reserves for test match number 2 up against Australia. Now, it is still very early on in the week, which does mean we've probably got 2 or 3 more days till we find out who the Wallabies will select. But of course, there is a huge amount of anticipation heading into this second contest. If the Springboks can get themselves a big win, their Rugby Championship is right back on track. But if Australia can somehow pull off 2 in a row, that would set them up pretty nicely for a Rugby Championship chance for 2025. But of course, do let me know what you think of Rassie Erasmus' side in the comments down below. We will be doing a preview a little bit later on in the week once Australia is announced, and also the live commentary for the match, so be sure to check that out as well. But thank you all very much for tuning in, and I will see you all for the next one.